So coming off of the end of the previous chapter, we saw Spinner and President Mike entering the hospital going after Kurogiri, both trying to save him in their own way. Spinner trying to play this recording of either All For One or Shigaraki, which is going to activate Kurogiri, and in theory he could use his quirk to free All For One from UA where he's currently trapped. But on the other hand, President Mike is just simply trying to stop that from happening and possibly even bring Shirakumo through Kurogiri. And that brings us to the beginning of this chapter where we're kind of seeing a little flashback as to President Mike telling Shoji that, Spinner entered the hospital, I'll go after him, while Shoji and Koda are still dealing with the heteromorphic army here. And we see that Koda has pretty much defeated that Paranormal Liberation Front general guy and has him like handcuffed on the ground. And Shoji's about to be hit by one of the heteromorphs who's very tentative, and he's suddenly stopped by the pig guy that we saw in the previous chapter entering the hospital with Spinner. And he's finally coming around here and he realizes what they're doing is wrong. He's like, I don't think I'm making good use of my rage. I'm thinking about it. I've been attacked multiple times for no reason, and I won't deny that I got excited over the call to action, and I thought it was finally time to strike back on the world that has mistreated us, but I don't know anymore. Is the whole world really my enemy? Now I feel like there's some people that I don't want to cause any harm to. And what really got through to the pig guy and the others is when they eventually did break into the hospital with Spinner, they saw the doctors and the nurses like standing united trying to protect the patients. They realized that this isn't what I want to do. Yes, we want reform. Yes, we don't want to be mistreated and face prejudice anymore, but this just isn't the way. These people are innocent. And then we see everyone is basically coming around to this reasoning. Even the army that's outside of the hospital is stopping. And Shoji's like, the feeling that gathered you all here today was neither wrong nor useless. The fact that no one has ever shown light on us has hurt us immensely for a long time, but you kept on fighting without giving up on thinking. And to me, you were shining brightly throughout it. Let's use that light to change the people who hurt us so that they'll feel ashamed to ever raise their fists against us again. And that's kind of like the final nail in the coffin here. Shoji has finally gotten through to everyone, and everyone's starting to realize that he's right. We shouldn't be doing this, because we have to remember that this army isn't comprised of villains. Actually just a small portion of it is the Paranormal Liberation Front and other random heteromorph villains, but the majority of the mob here are just civilians that they were manipulating to get onto this false cause. And it's essentially stopped here, assuming that this is going to be the end of this heteromorphic army march sequence, because even Lockrock's all we were thinking about was how to overcome them by force. They didn't even consider trying to reason with them. But then he's reinforcements move out to the hospital, so they're going to be entering the hospital now. But speaking of that, we're coming back to Spinner and President Mike, and Spinner's being blasted by one of President Mike's sound waves, and the recorder with All For One and Shigaraki's voice that he was supposed to play to Kurogiri gets damaged here, and Spinner just falls down and he kind of reverts back to his normal form. But first, let's talk about the sponsor of this video, Established Titles. So guys, this is by far one of the most interesting and cool and fun sponsors I've ever done, because you're literally purchasing land and getting a title as well, because purchasing a title pack gives you at least 1 square foot of dedicated land on a private estate in Edelston, Scotland, and an official certificate with a crest. They also plant a tree with every order and work with global charities, 1 tree planted and trees for the future to support global reforestation efforts. You can also officially change your name to Lord or Lady, and you can get it on your credit card, plane tickets. You can even change it on your dating profile too. It's a project based on a historic Scottish custom where landowners are referred to as lairds or lords and ladies in English. And it makes a great last minute gift. They even have couple packs that come with adjoining plots of land. But also the first 200 people purchasing a title pack using my link will pretty much be next to my plot. So guys, check out the link in the description, because Established Titles is also running a Black Friday sale. Plus, if you use code BIGZ, you get an additional 10% off. So go to establishedtitles.com/BIGZ to get your gift now and support the channel. Thanks guys. And I'm assuming that this is a combination of exhaustion from using multiple quirks the giant quirk and the scale armor quirk, but also the damage that he's received. But he's still kind of in that brain damage state where he can't think clearly, he can't speak clearly, and he's my mind's blank, my body won't obey me. And he's looking up at Kurogiri and he's thinking back to sad moments in his life. And he's all I ever wanted was to keep following him to where he is right now, referring to Shigaraki, of course. And we see that he has the last burnt Shigaraki hand. We saw that he had this at the end of the previous war, and he used this to comfort offered Shigaraki as they were being taken away. And his plan here is to essentially use this in place of the recorder. But while this is happening, Present Mike is also marching towards Kurogiri, and he's thinking to himself, saying like, hey Shirakumo, did you know that Aizawa lost an eye and a leg, in reference to, you know, Aizawa taking on Shigaraki in the previous war. He's like, so please don't make him lose the good memories he has. If you're not Shirakumo anymore, I'd like you to disappear as a memory, but if you're still our friend from back then. And I think this is Horikoshi kind of establishing that like there's a chance that both of the possibilities with Kurogiri will play out. Either he will just be Kurogiri, Shirakumo is done forever, and he's just going to disappear as a memory. But there's also a chance that Shirakumo can still be brought back somehow. Like, both options are off the table here. But afterwards, Spinner is able to like forcefully get up, remembering like the crucial moments between him and Shigaraki. And he winds up picking up the burnt hand and puts it towards Kurogiri's face, and he's like, let's save Shigaraki and the others. And then suddenly Kurogiri gets up from the chair, but he's kind of like in this in-between state that we haven't really seen before, where now we see like parts of Shirakumo's body, like his hand, his shoulder, and also part of his face, like what we saw before. And he says, I am the one who protects Tomura Shigaraki. The narrator says Kurogiri joins the battle, the war reaches a new stage, and that's where the chapter ends. So when I first read these spoilers, I thought it was more clear cut as to where Kurogiri was just the dominant personality, and then after this he's going to use his quirk to break All For One / Shigaraki out of UA. But now it doesn't seem that it's that simple, because when he's saying I am, in Japanese he's saying ore, which is Shirakumo's first person pronoun. So he's like saying I am the one who protects Tomura Shigaraki, as if it's like Shirakumo saying this. So it might be that he's in like this in-between state. I don't think he's fully Shirakumo and he's kind of just putting on an act, because like why would he have to do that in this situation? I do think that he's kind of like in between right now, because it reflects the form that we see him in. But it seems like the more dominant personality, not completely taking over, but more of it is Kurogiri, because he kind of has to be at this moment. I mean, there is a chance that Shirakumo just comes through right now and doesn't save All For One / Shigaraki, but then that would just mean that it's the end, essentially, right? And that we would have to take what the narrator is saying here at the end in a different way. The war reaches a new stage, not necessarily in an exciting sense, but more so that the new stage is that it's over or ending, because if Shigaraki / All For One continues to stay stuck in UA as he is, then Izuku is just going to defeat him, because that's the trajectory of that battle right now. So I'm thinking that Kurogiri is going to break him out of there, and then once Shigaraki / All For One's out of there, he's free to use his full power, because Aizawa Monoma won't be able to erase his quirk anymore, and we also haven't seen him use his full power yet, and it's going to be crazy. And also it was kind of set up that like we kind of have to see it, because that's what he was talking about before, which led us to him saying that he needs to essentially be saved by Spinner and Kurogiri here. And when that happens, I think Izuku is also going to gas out or pass out, because the second user told him that he only basically has 5 minutes to be able to use gear shift manner that he is, because it's just too much. And I'm thinking that this is all going to happen, and that's how we should take the narrator's statement here. Kurogiri joins the battle, the war reaches a new stage. So yeah, it seems like that's likely, but I do think in the end Shirakumo is going to come through and break from the Kurogiri-ness that's happened to him and eventually join the side of the heroes and help them, but just not right now. But that's pretty much it for the video today, guys. Let me know what you thought about this one in the comments, and if you liked it, please give it a like and please subscribe if you haven't already. Have a great day, and I'll see you in the next one.